Welcome to another tutorial by Photographer Overnight. Today we're going to talk about some of the common problems you can run into when you leave your camera in automatic mode. If you just bought a new SLR camera and you haven't quite learned how to change all the different settings, the auto mode allows the camera to do everything for you and works pretty well in some situations. But if you're shooting in this mode all the time, you've probably encountered a few situations where you've wondered why such an expensive piece of equipment is getting such bad images. Let me show you some examples. The first issue with automatic mode is that it chooses the exposure for you. Have you ever tried to take a picture of your friends in front of a window and your subjects keep turning out dark? This is because your camera's sensor picks up all the light in the frame and exposes your image based on how bright it thinks it is. So all the light from that window is making the camera think there's too much light. In this situation, your camera works in exactly the same way as the automatic feature of a cell phone or other picture-taking device. Can you tell the difference between the picture taken with a Canon 40D on automatic mode and the one taken with a cell phone? You might also see a color difference, and we'll talk about that in a second. When you control all the settings on your camera using manual mode, you get to decide how bright or dark your picture should be. Another problem you might have noticed if you're shooting in auto is that some of your indoor pictures are turning out yellow toned, and some of your outdoor pictures have a blue cast to them. This is because your camera is also choosing the white balance for you. Indoor lighting generally has a yellow hue to it, but we don't notice it in person because our eyes naturally adjust to the colors around us. But when it shows up in a photo, we expect it to look how we remember it, so the yellow tone looks out of place. Here's an example of manually switching from the incorrect white balance to the correct white balance right on your camera. On the flip side, shooting outside on a cloudy day will cast a blue tone on your images, and knowing how to manually adjust your white balance will give you a warmer, more vibrant picture. The other problem you can run into when you're shooting in indoor lighting is motion blur. This happens because your camera is trying to grab more light during the capture, so it's keeping the shutter open longer. If your camera is on automatic mode, it chooses the shutter speed for you, so if you're in low lighting, it will use a slower shutter, and whatever's passing through the frame during the time the shutter is open is going to be a blur. Choosing the best shutter speed in manual mode will allow you to freeze the motion of moving subjects, even in low lighting conditions. The other problem you get with a slow shutter is something called camera shake. This causes motion blur in your picture even when your subjects are holding still because of the movement you make when you push the shutter down to take the picture. In the picture on the left, the motion blur is obvious, but in the case on the right, you might think you're getting good images, but when you get them uploaded, you'll realize you don't have a nice sharp focus on any of your subjects. So in low lighting conditions, it's really important to have control of your shutter speed by changing the settings manually. Another downside to shooting in automatic mode is that your camera decides where to focus for you, and sometimes that means the focus of your picture is not exactly where you want it to be. By using manual mode, you're able to choose the auto-focusing dot in the location you'd like the camera to focus on. This makes it easy to decide where you want the focus of your picture to be. Another issue with automatic mode is that your flash can fire automatically. You'll often find that you prefer the natural light in the room over the harsh light and shadows from your flash. If you're shooting in automatic mode, you won't have any control over your flash firing. By shooting in manual mode, you'll be able to control the light in your picture and capture more of the ambiance of the room. So just to recap, here are some of the problems you can run into if you leave your camera on automatic mode. I've only discussed the most common annoyances, but there are plenty more benefits to shooting in your camera's manual mode that would take too long to list. If you're feeling overwhelmed about taking your camera off auto and learning how to change all the different settings your camera has to offer, we've created this step-by-step guide to learning how to use your camera to its full potential, with interactive assignments to get you out there to get some hands-on practice after every topic. You'll learn how to avoid all the problems we discussed in this tutorial, but more importantly, you'll learn how to take more professional-looking images with your camera, the way it was meant to be used. If you've been wanting to take your camera off auto and get better-looking pictures, this is the program for you. Because after all, I know you didn't get that nice camera just to take the same quality pictures you could have taken with your cell phone. You can also find this product on Amazon with 5-star reviews. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial and check out more of my free tutorials at photographerovernight.com.